This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shabbos Haggadah 1912. The great tzaddik, Rebbe Eliyahu Gutmacher. Rebbe Eliyahu Gutmacher is known for his famous comment in Masechta Shabbos that at the time that a baby cries, it's a special Eis Ratzon, a special Segula to be Mispalo. He was known as the tzaddik of Greiditz, and he said incredible words. He was speaking about the sanctity of Leil Seder, and he asked that this idea, this message be promulgated and be nisparsem, so that people could appreciate the power of Leil Shimurim. He asked, when Haman issued his terrible decree, and he issued this decree on Yud Gimel Nisan, and it was not going to go into effect until Adar, 11 months later. And the question is, if Haman's issuing the decree Yud Gimel Nisan, and Klal Yisrael need to daven and they need to fast, why would they fast? Yadalet, Tesvav, Tezayin. Why would they fast on Pesach? You need to eat on Pesach. You're obligated to eat on Pesach. It's the one mitzvah d'oraisa b'achila the whole year, the Chassam Sofer writes. Can you just push off the tainus a week, 2 weeks, maybe even the Yomim Noraim? What was the big rush? Why did they need to daven? Why do they need to fast on Pesach? Said Rebbe Eliyahu Gutmacher, from here we see the power of Pesach Tefillah, the incredible koyach hatfila that Pesach has. That no, they didn't want to push it off because Pesach has such a koyach hatfila, incredible koyach hatfila, that they felt in order to be mevatel a gzeira, in order to nullify a decree, there's no better day of the year than Pesach to abolish a gzeira ra. So in our time as well, we too, the whole world faces this gzeira that's over the head of the whole world. What better time of year to be mispalel, that the Rebbe Shem should bring refuos than Pesach, than Leil Seder. Incredibly, Rav Biderman brings down in his Haggadah on page Tzaddik Aleph the tshuva of the Klausenberger Rebbe. This past Sunday was the Ptira of the Klausenberger Rebbetzin, and the Klausenberger Rebbe writes in the Divrei Yatziv, Even Oezer, Siman Pei Gimel, Sivkat on Tes. He brings down that the Gemara Brachos on Chavav and Beis tells us the Avos were Masakein Tefillah. Avram was Masakein Shachris, Yitzchak was Masakein Mincha, Yaakov was Masakein Marav. And the Klausenberger Rebbe speaks at length that when we say the Avos were Masakein Tefillah, the very first Tefillah enacted, when Avram Avinu davened the very first Shachris? Pesach. And when Yitzchak davened the first Mincha? Pesach. And when did Yaakov daven the first Marav? Pesach. They were Masakein the Tefillah on Pesach. Again, we see the special Kayach HaTefillah of Pesach. All Tefillah is mushrash, is rooted in the Yom Tov of Pesach. And the Darkei Moshe tells us, we know before we do Karpas, we wash our hands, and there are many reasons given. Why do we wash our hands? What's the inyan of Orchatz? And the Darkei Moshe, Siman Taf Ayin Gimel Sivkat on Yud Beis writes that it could be since the Haggadah is like Tefillah, we're Mesaper the kavod of Hashem, we're Mesaper the shvachim of Hashem, then we have to wash our hands in the Tefillah for Tefillah. But again, according to what we're saying, that Leil Seder is a Zaman Tefillah and Bakasha, so we understand why we have to wash our hands, because the Seder night is a Leil Tefillah. And in fact, Tzadikim write, Tzadikim say, that the Gemara Pesachim, the Mishnah Pesachim, Kuf Tez Zayin Amud Aleph, it says, Mazgul loy kois sheni, they pour the second kois, V'kan haben shoyel. And here, the son asks, V'kan haben shoyel, literally it refers to the Manashtana, but it's also a remez, that we who are banim la'makoim, V'kan haben shoyel, it's an opportunity for us to be mispalel, to be mavakesh. It's a wondrous opportunity, the day that Tefillah was enacted, V'kan haben shoyel. And in fact, Svarim say that at the time that you cry out, Vanitzak el Hashem, referring to the cry of the Bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim, it's also Ma'ira great Rachamim in Shamayim. But the question on this is, can we really daven on Pesach? We're not to be mevakesh our own personal tzrachim on Yom Tov, just like on Shabbos. So what are we mevakesh? What are we mispalel? Can we daven to Hashem for a choyle or to end this gezerah? L'chayra, what this means is, when we say the Seder is a Yom Tefillah, is a Zman Tefillah, when we say Pesach is a Yom Tefillah, what is the Tefillah? The Tefillah is the whole theme of the Haggadah. The Haggadah begins L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. The Haggadah ends L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. And therefore the entirety of the Haggadah is a Tefillah that the Rebbe Shem bring the Geula. Because once the Geula comes, we have nothing to worry about. We don't have any of these other difficulties, challenges, trials and tribulations. May the Rebbe Shem answer our tefillah when we're mispalel v'kana ben shoyel. The Rebbe Shem should be niskabel the tefillah of Hoshata Hocha Lashana Haba Ba'arad Yisrael, and the great tefillah of Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Wishing everyone Chag Kosher v'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.